Okay, we're here today with Siobhan Stack from Olive, a company based here in HQ Tralee. Siobhan, you're very welcome.
Thanks, Tom.
So Siobhan, I suppose tell us a bit background to Olive and where it started from.
Yeah, I suppose it wasn't always in my plan to have my own business, but about 4 years ago, I was pregnant on number 2. I was working in Castle Street at the time and had to go out to pack the contents for my hospital bag, the bits that you buy from the chemist. It was a roasting day, I remember the same day, it was a July day, and it wasn't a long distance down to the chemist and back, and I was walking back with these 2 laden bags thinking there has to be an easier way to do this. So I never did anything about it. That idea kind of just stuck in the back of my head, and every so often it would come back into my head and I think, God, that is still a good idea, because sometimes with business ideas it's good at a point in time, but you might revisit it 6 months or a year later and think, God, what was I thinking, you know. But this seemed to stand the test of time, but I never had any time to really do it. I was on the treadmill of working, being paid a monthly salary, which was very comfortable, and it was very hard to get off that treadmill. So about a year and a half ago, having gone back to work after a subsequent baby, so we had 3 at this stage, after maybe 6 months into being back in work, I was just finding the work-life balance very difficult. So I was away a lot with work and 3 young children at home, and I just decided that I needed to take a break. It wasn't, and I'm not saying this selfishly, to be at home with the kids per se, but it was literally just to hit the pause button, take stock. And even at that point in time, I didn't have it in my head to start up my own business. So I took the break. So I got a career break, luckily. I work for AIB and I got a career break from them for a year. And it started at the beginning of October. The first 3 months were wonderful. It was the lead into Christmas. It was a novelty being at home, fantastic. God, this was brilliant. Why didn't I do this years ago? And then January hit, and it was the longest January. So January last year, 2017, and it was a very, very long month. And I just thought, I can't do this full time. I need to do something else. So the idea that I thought about 4 years ago came back into my head. And I thought, you know what, let's give it a lash. See how it goes, nothing ventured, nothing gained. And that's really where it started.
Very good.
From. Yeah.
And can you describe what the service, the product that you provide?
Yeah, so it started off in its formation as hospitalbag.ie, and I recently underwent a rebrand, so pretty much does what it says in the tin. What I do is I provide solutions, primarily to mums-to-be going into hospital to have their babies, by way of matching bag sets and the contents that go into them. With the rebrand, so I've rebranded to Olive, and I'm really trying to appeal to a broader market in terms of the matching bags have been very successful. So you don't need to be going into hospital to have a baby to purchase these bags. You know, they're a generic set of matching bags. So that was part of the rebrand. So I'm hoping now that people who travel regularly, who travel with kids, travel on their own, will also look to purchasing from Olive.
And the actual name Olive, where that came from?
So that came from, so I got advice in terms of rebranding, and somebody said to me, look, you need to rebrand because hospitalbag.ie is very narrow in terms of where you're going, even in terms of demographics with the .ie. So they said you need a .com firstly in terms of your website, and you need something that doesn't necessarily mean anything. It doesn't need to mean anything. So I went away for a few weeks. I had wrecked my husband's head brainstorming. I'd be out in the garage packing orders and I'd come in and say, I have it. I have the best brand name ever. And he'd listen to it and just be, that's ridiculous. So I did this probably 5 times. So then I stopped telling him because I was like, he's just going to shoot this down. And then one day I remember I was going up the stairs, I had a load of laundry in my hands, and this came to me. And it's the Irish word Ullave, U-L-L-A-M-H, which means ready or prepared. And it's just the English phonetic spelling of it.
Excellent. Okay.
So that's it. But nobody necessarily needs to know the backstory, or does know the backstory. Lots of people pronounce it you love, which is fine too.
Exactly.
I don't mind, but yeah, so that's the background to it.
Great. And was it your always, suppose, going back maybe over the years, I know you worked full-time in AIB, but had you kind of any idea, like 5-6 years ago, that maybe self-employment is an option for me, or I'd like to be self-employed and my own boss someday? Yeah,
I definitely always felt it in the back of my head. I would have grown up in a house where my dad was self-employed, so I never grew up with the whole thing of my dad going out 9 to 5. You know, he had a small news agents for years, so I was used to that whole working for himself. And there was part of me, probably all the way through my career, that thought, I would love to work for myself. And, I've been very lucky. I've had very good employers, but I never had the passion. I liked what I did, but I never felt, wow, this is amazing. And I'm not sure that you really feel that until you're doing something that you love and that you're passionate about. And when it's your own business, it's very easy to feel that way about it.
And you're up and running there just over 12 months now, let's say, Siobhan. So
9 months actually, yeah,
okay,
from
so
launch.
In terms of, I suppose, any regrets or any kind of like, issues that were kind of, you thought, oh, am I doing the right thing here? Or,
probably that I didn't do it earlier, to
right,
be honest with you.
great.
But it's very hard, as I say, to get off that treadmill of, you're getting a monthly salary. It's very safe, it's very comfortable. So to actually get off that treadmill is quite a difficult jump to take. Once you've taken it, and I've spoken to loads of people who've taken early retirement, voluntary severance, who started up their own companies, and most of the people, if not all of them, have said, best decision ever. And I definitely feel that, but it's very scary before you take the jump.
Yeah.
And I think anybody who's worked and then set up on their own would say the same.
And in terms of, I suppose, like in terms of this as a startup, what you kind of feel are the main roadblocks that you kind of came up against when starting out a business?
The massive thing for me, it was a massive roadblock to start with, and it continues to be, and I suppose I'm trying to deal with it piecemeal, is time. Time is my biggest challenge, because I've 3 young children at home. Yeah. Naively, I thought when I set it up, the whole idea was to regain a bit of work-life balance as well as do something that I felt passionately about. And I thought I'd be able to do it in the mornings while the kids were their various school and play schools. But I probably only had a 2.5-hour window every morning. And that wasn't enough. So by the time you'd have collected them and you're at home, you don't get to do anything when they're at home, because you're pretty much attending to their needs for the afternoon. So then I'd be out in the garage at night time packing orders. And even my husband said to me recently, he said, I used to feel so sorry for you going out to the garage, because freezing cold, concrete floor, freeze brick walls, hat on, coat on, scarf on, and he'd be sitting in front of the fire, sitting down to watch the telly. But that was just the nature of it, because I didn't have that chunk of time in the afternoon. Yep. So time has been the biggest thing, and what I'm trying to do is, I suppose, fix each little roadblock in terms of time as it becomes a big issue. And it might be a while before you realise what the issue is, and it always comes back, in my case, to time. Mm-hmm. So I suppose what I started doing was coming in here to HQ, renting a hot desk kind of one day a week, just to get my head away from the house, at a laptop, not doing anything in terms of orders, but just strategizing or doing amendments to the website or whatever I needed space to do. That was fine probably up until about a month or 2 months ago, and thankfully the business is growing. And I was being out in the garage late at night and at weekends and that, and I realised, I need a little bit more than this. So we got a childminder back, so now I have 3 days to myself, which is brilliant. But I was still spending a lot of time packing orders, a lot more time than leaving the house because the childminder was coming back. So about 2 weeks ago I said, okay, this isn't working for me now. How do I address this issue? And as of last week, I've moved into HQ full-time. So my whole operation has come in here.
Fantastic.
And already, I suppose I'm only a week into it. From a work-life balance point of view, it's really helped. And it's created a real delineation between work and home. So when I'm at home, I'm at home.
Yeah.
And when I'm here, I'm here. And for me, it's working a lot better. And as I said, I'm only a week into it. That's not going to say that time isn't going to continue to be an issue, because I probably need 5 days a week. I currently have 3.5 days a week, but you can only take it piecemeal.
And would you see your business taking on maybe an employee maybe over the next 12 months?
That would be brilliant if it happened, because obviously being a one-woman operation, I'm conscious of if you get sick, if you need to go on holidays, and while it's okay at maybe initial startup stage to say to customers, look, I'm going to be on holidays for the next 2 weeks, I don't think that's very professional kind of going forward. So I'll definitely, it's something that I would hope I'll have to look at.
And is your business very seasonal then, like in terms of, or is it all year round?
Not really now, although apparently there's a glut of babies born in September every year for obvious reasons. So, but pretty much, it's from what I've seen so far now, I'm only 9 months coincidentally into it, but there haven't really been peaks and troughs as such. It's been fairly in fact, if anything, I suppose, just because the business is growing, it's been on an upwards trajectory.
Very good. And I suppose just in terms of, if you were to, like, there's lots of, I suppose, moms and dads out there that are working at home, looking after the kids, and decide to take a career break or decide to give up work to stay at home. Do you think it's a good kind of road to go down for people that are looking at, the kids are getting a bit older, should we look at going back to work, or is it a good option for people to actually go to look at self-employment as an option, as a kind of, as say, work-life balance? Yeah,
for me it definitely is. And I suppose the thing with work-life balance I'm very conscious of, the right work-life balance differs from person to person. So what's right for me might be completely different to you. So, you know, I do think it's a great option because I think you can work your own hours.
Yeah.
But also, I suppose when you're working for yourself, you're inclined to push yourself harder than you might do otherwise. So there's just a balance. And I suppose at startup stage, you're all consumed by it. So you probably will end up spending a lot more time than you're comfortable with at the beginning. But I think once you keep in the back of your head all the time that, look, this can ultimately work. And I suppose with me, I'm trying to find solutions around the children. So it's great. I get to drop them to school every morning, which I never got to do.
Yeah.
You know, so it's little things like that that working for yourself definitely make life easier.
And you find, like, obviously you're from Kerry, but you're living in Kerry, but you're not from Kerry originally, no?
I'm from Cork. I
From
can't
Cork,
believe
okay.
you just said that to me. Oh my God. So insulted.
Because my next question was about Kerry as a place to set up a business and actually work in. So, like, you know, we find here is that, you know, there's a lot of people moving back from the cities and things like that down to Kerry, and I suppose that work-life balance is there and commuting runs. Do you find, like, you know, that there's a good, I suppose, atmosphere in Kerry and a kind of good culture here in Kerry to start business in the county?
Absolutely, 100%. I lived in Dublin for 18 years, so very familiar with Dublin, and I loved the buzz and that of Dublin. So moving down to Kerry 5 years ago was a massive change. And you know, I probably wasn't as exposed to Kerry and business until I came in here, really.
Right.
And you know, meeting people, I mean, I feel a cheat in some respects when I meet other people in HQ who have come up with brilliant ideas. Like, I feel I'm just a retailer at the end of the day. So there's brilliant energy, there's brilliant ideas, there's brilliant people. I mean, Tralee itself, I suppose, it's great being in the centre of the town. You know, I love that about being here. You really feel as if you're living, you know, you've a multitude of restaurants to choose from, coffee bars, whatever, in terms of feeding yourself during the day. Parking isn't an issue. The commute in and out of work is, you know, great. You're looking at mountains and water, you know, most of the way, and it's fantastic.
Fabulous.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Very good. And I suppose outside of business, then, in terms of, like, what are your other passions in life? What I suppose your downtime? If you have, I know you have 3 small kids, so downtime is very limited. But what do you do outside of the business to relax and to
I love
unwind?
interior design. I suppose is one thing. Probably if I hadn't gone into financial services at a young age, that's something I definitely have done, and I still love it. And I can see the fear in my husband's eyes every time he sees me with a measuring tape. It's like, how much is this going to cost me? So I love that, and I'm always redoing the house unnecessarily, probably. And fitness is the other thing I've gotten into more recently. We used to always say, Stephen and myself, you know, if we won the lotto, we'd have personal trainers, would be one of a multitude of things we do. Right. And then about 6 months ago, I think he came up with it and he said, you know, why wait until we win the lotto? You know, this is something we probably should do. We're both conscious we've a young family and we want to be there for them. And we probably hadn't been as disciplined as we should have been. So I'm going to personal training twice a week, early in the morning. So I start my Tuesday at 7 o'clock and Thursdays at 6 o'clock. And it really just sets me up for the day. It's the best thing I've ever done. Yeah. Definitely. So yeah, I suppose that's taking up a lot of my time at the moment.
Very good. And in terms of, let's say, if there's someone watching this that is thinking about starting a business, what's kind of you've been through this process? You're a startup business that's 9 months old. So what kind of words of advice would you give someone out there that's in the same situation yourself or in a completely different situation that's looking at business as an opportunity? What sort of advice would you give them? Having been through it and you know.
I suppose there's 2 bits of advice. One piece I read, I would read an awful lot, and I read massively before actually starting the business. Googled everything. Yep. So one piece of advice I got from Google, and the other piece I got from somebody who had set up her own business a number of years ago. She's no longer in business for a variety of reasons, but she said to me, no matter how good your business idea is, start small. You know, she said, you might think it's the best idea in the world, and it might well be, but just start small. So, you know, don't invest too much into stock, say in my case with a product-based company. And I thought that was really good advice, because there's nothing to stop you. If it goes and sells out quickly, you just buy more. But if you buy a massive amount of stock and you're left with it because what you perceive to be customer demand isn't actually the case, you know, you're in trouble. So that's definitely one of the pieces of advice I would give. And I suppose I can testify to that because with my own business idea, it has gone a slightly different direction than I thought it would. So I thought X product was going to be the big seller, and yet Y product turned out to be the big seller. So that would definitely be the big thing. And the second thing, and I thought this was really good advice, and if I hadn't taken it on board, I wouldn't have launched. And that was, don't be waiting until everything is perfect.
Yeah.
So, you know, I was waiting to have the perfect tagline, the perfect font, the perfect logo, the perfect this, that. And I read somewhere, if you're going to wait until you're happy, 100% happy with everything, you'll never launch your business.
Yeah.
So go, like, once you're 80% there, the other stuff can be done after you've launched. And it's probably stuff that nobody would notice apart from yourself.
Yeah.
So I suppose if I'm to give any two pieces of advice, they're the ones.
Yeah, because again, it's like you're constantly tweaking the business forever anyway. Like,
Definitely,
so, yeah.
and you're going to feed off customer reaction as well. And, you know, the company, my business definitely has gone a slightly different direction than I anticipated it.
Yeah.
So.
Very good. As part of these series of talks, we ask people kind of random questions that's not really business related. I suppose in terms of yourself, can you tell us something about yourself that no one else knows, or and that's true?
Right, okay. Well, I'm going to kind of deflect this one slightly.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you something about my mother
Okay.
that nobody knows.
Does she know about it?
So after my second was born,
Yeah.
so 2 boys initially, she was down here for a weekend. She lives in Waterford, and she asked me to drop her to the train station. And she was a bit mysterious. She said she needed to go to Killarney. I didn't press her. Her business was her business. So she rang me to ask me to collect her 3 hours later, that to unveil on her ankle a massive tattoo with each of her grandsons' names on them at 66 years of age.
Brilliant.
She was after getting her first tattoo. Yeah.
Fantastic.
So I don't think many people know. And when I say it to people, they're like, no way. And I have to give them photographic evidence. Yeah.
That's fantastic. So this year, or when did you do
No, 4 years ago.
4 years ago.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But we subsequently had another child.
Right.
And her name still hasn't been tattooed onto the ankle.
The first
We're
few would be
waiting for
painful.
that.
Very
Yeah.
good. In terms of what's your favourite word?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Brilliant. Okay. As
Yeah.
opposed to no.
Yeah. Exactly. And those are my least favourite
Yeah.
word.
Very
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Okay. And I suppose in terms of outside of your business, like what would be your dream job? I know you worked in the bank, and you know what's your if I said
Probably
to you,
interior
yeah.
design would have been, you know, anything to do with houses and doing them up, and that I just absolutely loved. In fact, I was at an exhibition in Frankfurt at the weekend called Ambient. That was an interior decorator's dream. It was just fantastic.
Okay.
So yeah, that would be my dream job.
good. Very
Other than Olive, obviously.
Siobhan, where's your favourite place in the world to visit?
New York. I know it's a very obvious one, but I just love New York. I've probably been there 7 or 8 times, and every time I go there, I discover somewhere different. So yeah.
Very good. Outside of Kerry, obviously.
Outside of Kerry, yeah, and
Cork.
outside of Cork,
Yeah.
yeah.
Good stuff. Okay, Siobhan, so thanks very much for coming today. Just, I suppose, how can people find you? Your website and social media.
Yeah, sure. So my website address is www.olive.com, and that's spelled ULLUV. My email address is hello@olive.com, and I'm on Instagram and Facebook also.
Fantastic. Well, Siobhan, congratulations on starting the business. It's going from strength to strength, and it's great to have you here based in HQ. So again, thank you very much for today.
Great. Thanks, Jan.